Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Brandon, and today we are going down to Iowa to go get the new motor for the FRS. I didn't plan on doing this right away. We're getting the motor way sooner than I thought, and I'll get more into detail about that later. But let's get down to Iowa. Now I'm gonna go ahead and eat this bread from Cane's because that's the only reason why I go to Cane's. And yeah, let's get going. All right, so we're back from Iowa. It's actually a couple days later because we had a really bad hailstorm in Minnesota. So both my trucks got towed out along with the siding on my house needs to get replaced. So the insurance is gonna have a lot of fun with that. It's not very fun for me, but you know, it happens. It's weather. It just unpreventable. So anyways, a couple days later, we're back. We got the motor, and some of you guys might be able to tell what it is from this corner, but if you come to this side a little bit, you might be able to identify it a little better. So I talked about it a lot in my last video, but on why I decided I wanted to go with a 2J. I was still undecided at that point though. I didn't know if I wanted 2JZ, LS, rotary, what I was gonna do yet. And after that video, I was pretty much set on doing a rotary swap on it because it would be unique. It was different. It was pretty expensive, but I thought it was gonna be a really cool swap. But I hopped on Facebook Marketplace, and that's where this came up. It was a 2JZ GE non-VVTi. So this has, or it should have, I should say, because I don't know yet, but it should have the GT rods along with the non-VVTi pistons, which are pretty much just a GT piston anyway. And so this bottom end is good for about 700 horsepower, maybe more than that. Whatever the GT is good for, that's pretty much what this is good for. It's just a lot cheaper. so I found this on Facebook Marketplace. The guy was asking 700. I ended up getting it for 600. I could have talked him down more, but I just didn't want to lose it because the guy was like, there's so many people interested. Give me 600 or you're not getting it or I'm just going to sell it to somebody else. So gave him 600. We got it. The only thing about this though that's really sketchy is he had already opened it, or he said somebody else had already opened it or something. It's missing a lot of the bolts for the top here for all these valve covers. I'm not too worried because these aren't essential bolts. Like they just hold plastics or pieces of valve cover on. So I'm not too worried about that, but I'm worried about why they opened this because like all of this is just loose. It's not even on there. Like I can pull that off. You got the timing cover or the timing chain. And you can actually pull the valve covers off. And yeah, he's got all of this labeled already. So we got like 11, 9. I think these are the torque pattern maybe. I actually don't know what these numbers mean, but it's all been labeled and taken apart already. So it's pretty sketchy to me as to why he pulled it apart. He just didn't, like, everything he said just kind of didn't make sense. The guy said that he owned a Mark IV, and then he didn't have a Mark IV there. I can't find anything on his social medias about him owning a Mark IV. He said that this is out of an SC300. That makes sense. But like just a lot of things he would say didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm just really sketched out as to what is up with this motor and why he was selling it. Because these motors are going for quite a bit more than $600 right now. A lot of people are asking for VVTIs, people are getting like $1,000 for VVTIs, and most non-VVTIs are getting like $1,500 to $1,800. Sometimes even more than that. I wouldn't pay that much personally, but it's just weird to me that he's selling it for so much cheaper than everybody else. And a lot of the things he was saying when I went to go pick it up just didn't add up quite right. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear this motor down today and get it down to basically a bare block and just verify that everything in here is actually non-VVTi stuff. Because if it is, we have somewhat of a plan. We have like 4 options of what we can do with it. We can go non-VVTi head, VVTi head, GT VVTi head, or GTE non-VVTi head. And if I go GTE anything, it helps a little bit because there's parts specific to the GTE for my car. If I don't, then I gotta kind of figure out things other ways around. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with this. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I've been talking for a lot of time now, and I'm gonna go ahead and tear this motor down, figure out what's all in here, and if everything is adding up correctly and is what I expect it to be, I will explain the plan with this motor and what we're gonna do with it. So at this point, I've gotten the cams out and I'm getting really close to being ready to pull the head. A few things that I've already noticed is, one, there was this chunk of metal right here. I'm not entirely sure what this goes to. It's just a, like, it looks like a weld. It honestly just looks like somebody tried welding something and it fell off maybe. It was attached to these like splines here, or these like gear pieces here. When it was inside the motor, I don't really know what that is, but that's exactly why I wanted to pull this thing apart. Another thing was the seal was pinched. Whoever put this back together pinched the seal. And a couple other things. There is a hole in here, which I don't think there's supposed to be. That is a concern for me. And there's a bunch of like metal pieces all around the head. You guys can see it better on camera actually. There's just a bunch of metal all over in this thing, and it makes me really, really nervous as to why. And there was also this cam here was like pressurized, and when I tried pulling it, I actually cut my finger right there. I pushed down on this side, it depressurized, and it just flew out. So I don't even know if this cam is good anymore after flying across the motor. Another thing on this front retainer here, I believe it was this one, yeah. If you look really closely there, right on the top of my thumb there's actually like a nick. That's probably not the end of the world, honestly. Like, that's probably usable, but I'm probably gonna replace that anyway. And just overall, how the head looks right now is just very, very scary, because if there's that much just little stuff with the top end already. Oh, there's another piece right there actually. Yeah, there's another piece of metal in there. Oh, it's pretty identical to the other side. This actually looks very similar to this. So whatever broke, I would assume that's something that broke on both sides. So I'm not sure what those pieces of metal are for, but they're broken, and they were both in the same exact areas. So again, very scary. I'm not sure what all that stuff is. Oh yeah, there's also this giant gunk of something in here. I don't know what that is. That looks like hair. It looks like hair. I don't know. There's so much stuff in the top end of this already. It just really, really scares me as to what exactly I bought. This head is maybe usable. This is like the only thing that's really worrying me the most out of the entire top of the head, or the top end, because all that other stuff is like, maybe that got in there when he opened it or something, and then he put it all back together with that stuff in there just to sell it. I don't know. Really, I'm not too worried about the top end though. The top end of this motor is probably going to get replaced regardless of if it was good or not. It's just scary to me. If somebody could tell me if this is supposed to be here actually, if that's supposed to be drilled like that, because it doesn't look like something shot up and cracked it or anything. It just looks like somebody cut it. But I don't know. I don't know enough about these motors to know that. But yeah, let me know if you guys find anything out about that, or if you guys know anything about that. I'm going to continue pulling the head, and we're going to check the bottom end, because that's really why I bought this motor anyway. If the bottom end's good with this, I am going to be very happy. All right, so my camera overheated last night while I was trying to take this motor apart. And anyways, I started pulling the head studs out of the motor, and I quickly found out why exactly this guy sold this motor. So if you guys remember, I said that he had opened it previously, or somebody had. He said somebody had. And all these are labeled, all these, I don't know the actual terminology for all of these parts. I know what they do, I just don't remember the name. But those like cam clamps, whatever you call them, the rolling bear, they're not rolling bearings. I don't know what they're called actually. But those were all labeled, and he was like, yeah, somebody's been in the motor before, I don't know why, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, it's a little sketchy that he wouldn't know why, because he claims to be the one who pulled the motor, and all these bolts are missing and things like that. And by the way, this is extremely dirty. Like, there is crap all over in this head. Like, it is disgusting. This head is probably not in the best shape anyway. I'm not an engine expert. I've never taken a motor before apart, put it together, anything like that. So, you know, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure any type of debris, all that's metal, more metal. There's a gunk piece here yesterday, all that stuff. Anyway, point is, I was pulling the head studs, and all of them came loose. Like, they were all torqued super weird. I know that the torquing on this isn't like an actual torque spec. It's literally just like you torque it 26 pounds, and then from there you do like a 180 loop or something. There's not an actual torque spec, it's just how you put it on there. So every head stud was like a different torque, and I was able to break all of them loose except for the last one. And the reason why I couldn't get the last one loose is because it was stripped before I even got to it. I put the tool in there, it was like really loose. I'm like, what the hell? I'm looking in there, I'm like, well, it should all be the same size. They all should all be T55s. And yeah, the last head stud was stripped, so I started drilling it out slowly. At this point, I honestly don't really care for this head because it just looks like it's been worn through a lot. As far as like it could be usable. I'm sure I could use this head. I'm sure it would give me no problems anyway. But I'm just going to start drilling out that head stud because as long as the bottom end of this motor is good, I'm probably going to replace the head with a VVTi anyway. So I'm just not too worried about it. And worst case scenario, we pull the rods out, we pull the pistons out, and we just use those in a VVTi block. Hopefully that's not the case. I would rather use this block and just buy a new head because I can get one for a lot cheaper that way. Unless I find a whole VVTi motor, but I haven't been able to find any, and no junkyards around me have any. So I'm at the point right now where I'm just gonna carefully drill out that stud, try to not damage the head any more than it is. But worst case scenario, if I do any damage to it, it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna replace it with a VVTi head regardless. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just gonna keep drilling away at this and wish me luck. All right, so after drilling for probably like 3 hours straight, I finally got it. I actually didn't go all the way through on the bolt either. It actually just pulled out somehow. It like went in reverse, or like it caught and then somehow went in reverse and just broke loose, and now the bolt is free. It's completely out. Didn't have to go all the way through, didn't have to figure anything else out afterward. So I don't even know how that ends up happening. Oh, actually I see why. So I actually drilled a little bit sideways, and it looks like it grabbed on the edge here and somehow leveraged it to break loose. So I'm not complaining, that worked. I don't know what drill bit set this is. I'm gonna ask my dad because these things are amazing. The Harbor Freight ones were absolute trash. These sucked. But these here, I think these are like a titanium bit or something. I don't know. This one right here went through that like butter. I'm pretty sure this shit is hardened steel or some, maybe, yeah, I'm assuming hardened steel. But yeah, this went through it like butter when the Harbor Freight stuff took forever. So whatever this is, I highly recommend it. I'll find out, and I'll let you guys know, because I'm gonna have to get a full set of those. Anyway, I'm gonna continue pulling this thing apart, getting the head off now that we actually can get the head off. We could actually clean up this head and use it again because I don't think I did any damage to the head. But we'll have to inspect it a little more when I get in there. All right, so the head is officially pulled. We got all the valves here. Nothing looks bad that I can tell. I mean, we got a little bit of head gasket material maybe. I'm not sure why this is all wet here. Oh, actually, is that cracked? Yeah, just some oil and gunk. Not anything too bad, honestly. Okay, so there's a lot of oil in here. I'm not sure why. But there's a lot of oil on these valves here. Everything else looks pretty good. This looks really clean here. Same with this one. Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we got some gunk up in these passages. I think these are oil passages, maybe coolant. These must be coolant passages. Or passages, sorry. So, I mean, we got... The head looks okay on the bottom. On the other side, head gasket looks really good in a lot of spots, actually. You got some chalky moo juice going on over here. Oil mixing with coolant. We got a nice gunk of whatever this is. I mean, look at that. There's a dead spider here. Right there, there's a dead spider. And we got giant gunk of something. More gunk in these passages here. I mean, there's a lot of oil in this one for some reason. I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about this. I'm just, the farther and farther I get into this motor, I'm really happy that I'm opening up the motor and looking at everything. But I'm kind of wishing I would have just ran the motor and just saw how far it would have gone. But I'm going to keep pulling this apart. We're going to figure out what's in the bottom end. Hopefully we still have the same rods that we're supposed to have. It doesn't look like he even got this far into the motor, so I would assume everything else is there. I don't know. Let's keep going. All right, so the motor's fully torn apart. I'm gonna go ahead and go over everything with you guys as quick as possible because I feel like this video is already really long. So I'm not gonna keep talking on and on and on, and let's get right into it. So for the third cylinder housing, I don't know if that's what you call it, cylinder housing from the front is really gunked up. I can show you guys that in a second here. Let me clean my hands. If we look at the third cylinder housing here, we can see on the side there that it is super gunked up. It looks scratched and everything. It's not. It's actually in really good condition, minus the fact that it's really gunky. And all the other ones are good. Cross hatching is good on all of them. There's a lot of oil in there, so it looks kind of weird, but they're not bad at all, except for this one. It's just really gunked up. And if we come over to the piston, it kind of explains it a little more too, because these rings here, you can literally grab them. Like, look, I'm gonna grab from, let me see if I can get a good angle at this. So if I grab right from where the gap is, look at how much pressure I can put on it. And it barely moves. Like, it's moving, but just, it's super gunked up. And then, like, if we go over to this one here,
is there something else I can help with?
If we go over to this ring here, we can actually just grab it and just immediately like pull on it and twist it. I can't really do it because it's actually hitting the table right now. But my point is, that one's super gunked up. The cylinder housing, the bore on it is really gunked up as well. And I think the head gasket has to do with it, because if you look on the head gasket here, you might have caught it already. Look at how dirty this is. That's all coolant. That's all chalky moo juice there. It's been mixing with oil or something, and you can see all of these coolant passages are blocked off. One there, that one's pretty blocked up. That one over here, you literally don't even have the coolant passages. They're just blocked completely. So we definitely had some head gasket issues on this motor. And I'm assuming that's why this car was in the junkyard to begin with, because the guys claimed that he got it out of a junkyard. That would be my guess why it was there. Probably had a head gasket issue. Person didn't want to fix it because it cost too much money. Blah, blah, blah. Sold the car off to a junkyard. He went and got it. Didn't know that. And then he did compression testing on it because those rings are gunked up. Saw that the third cylinder, I think that's number 3 anyway. Saw that the third cylinder had no compression because it was gunked up. And then decided, screw it, I'm going to sell it. I'll start with something else, because he didn't want to open the motor. And now we are here. We have the motor. We have the pistons and rods, which, by the way, are the non-VVTi pistons and rods. Luckily, I thought I was going to get scammed on that, but we didn't. You can tell by those points there. They're super deep dish, and this is a lot thicker than a VVTi rod. So, with all of that being said, where are we? Well, the head is usable, actually. It's actually, even with me drilling that bolt out, because I got really lucky, we could actually reuse that head if we wanted to. We'd have to clean it all out because there's a lot of metal stuff in there now, and there was to begin with anyway, so not like we did anything bad to the head anyway. But we can clean that up and use the head if we wanted to. With the bottom end, it's kind of the same situation. We could clean up all of the cylinder housings, go get them honed, go get them recross hatched. But we can get all of that honed and ready to go for the pistons again, get everything all cleaned up, get the block all cleaned up correctly, and just make the motor look really nice and be really clean and basically be a new motor if we wanted to. The thing is, though, we could also go to the VVTi block and head, which would be probably like another 600 bucks for another motor. If we got lucky, we could probably find one for like 300 bucks, especially since it's a VVTi. Nobody wants those really. If we got lucky and found a VVTi block with the head on it, we'll probably end up going that route then, because it will save us from having to put a VVTi head on this and then having to do the oil mod so that we could actually get oil to the VVTi, and then having to put all the wiring harness and all that stuff on here, and then having to deal with all the coolant that's already blocking up this motor. And overall, it would probably be easier just to go with a VVTi motor. So what are we going to do with it? That's a good question. I actually don't know what we're going to do with the motor yet. I'm gonna have to go ahead and hit all the spreadsheets, see how much everything's gonna cost, because the whole point of this is to be a budget build and not be super expensive. So if we end up going one route, it's gonna cost more than the other route. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the spreadsheets. I'll let you guys know in another video what exactly we're gonna do. And yeah, so that's the situation with the motor. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but it could be a lot better. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, I'll catch you guys in the next one. And yeah, see you guys later.